Hi, everyone. Welcome to My Ex Appeal, Your Everything Divorce podcast. My name is Joey Camaro, and I'm here with
Mandy Baker.
And we are the friends that you didn't know you needed.
We're back.
Welcome back, or welcome to the party, bitch.
Exactly.
Let's get into the tapping.
Joey and Mandy, everything divorce related. We can put the S back in your ex appeal. Joey and Mandy, the friends you didn't know you needed on My Ex Appeal, and Everything Divorce podcast.
So I'm super excited to have Stephanie on. So welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. Welcome to My Ex Appeal.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just talk to us a little bit about you.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm Stephanie. I'm a single mom of 5 kids. They're 13 to 23, so I'm kind of past the little kid stage. And you guys have reached out to me to talk about EFT tapping. And that's something that I've been doing for quite a while, sort of informally. And then a couple of years ago, I joined a program to become certified. So now I work with clients, and yes, it's a lot of fun. It's a great tool. And because I think there is so much anxiety going through divorce and then the aftermath, trying to bring the life back together, it's been a tool that's been super helpful to me. So
yeah, well, talk to us about, so it does help with anxiety. Talk to us a little bit about that. Like, how does that work? Because I know some people live in the anxious state and don't even know.
You just don't even know anything else, right?
Yeah. So what is EFT tapping and what does it do for your body?
Sure. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it was developed, I believe, in the 70s as a trauma tool. But it's good for a lot of different things. As it's been practiced and researched, within different areas, they discovered that it's good for anything that's connected to an emotion, which is, life, everything. But it is really powerful for anxiety. It's called tapping because you literally use your fingertips to tap on acupoints on your face and body while you're talking through the concern or the issue or the thing that you're trying to shift. And it interrupts the fight or flight response. That's really how it helps with anxieties. It interrupts the fight or flight response, and it kind of helps get your thinking brain back online, because I'm sure we've all had the experience, especially going through a divorce, where I've talked to other women, and this was my experience too, where you're under so much stress that the brain fog is real. The anxiety is high, the brain fog is real. And so when you can bring down interrupt that fight or flight response and bring yourself back into a state of better regulation, then you can kind of get your thinking brain back online, and it can help you make better decisions too, which for me was a huge deal for my divorce.
So did you tap before the divorce?
I did. Actually, I learned about tapping about, 7 years ago, probably, from my neighbor. She and I became good friends, and she had gone through a tapping certification, and she told me about it. And I thought, that is so weird. Like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of. But it was so interesting because as I sort of watched her and her family, her kids were so peaceful. I mean, they had normal problems just like everybody else's kids, but they were able to process their emotions and move through them, because she would tap with her kids. And she would tell me about how she struggled with anxiety, or she would have panic attacks or whatever. And she would use tapping to process them quickly. And I just saw that her family had an emotional stability that I wasn't seeing in a lot of other families. And so that kind of piqued my curiosity, and I started to follow her tapping teacher online, and I followed her for probably 4 or 5 years before I joined her certification program. Yeah. Yep. So it took me a long time to buy in. But I did start tapping once when my ex and I split. I started tapping just on my own without going through a program, because I was desperate. I think we reach for whatever is going to make us feel better at the time. And it was super helpful. So that was really what inspired me to want to get certified.
That's really cool.
And when were you divorced? When did that happen?
My ex and I split 3.5 years ago. So the divorce was final about 2.5 years ago.
So you still had that. I mean, your kids were kind of still, that's a big range anyway, but your kids were just a little bit older, but that's sometimes, we were talking about this yesterday, sometimes that's harder when your kids are older to go through a divorce.
I would guess so. I mean, obviously I didn't go through it when mine were really tiny, but I do think so. It probably is in a way, because you have bigger feelings, then they're, it's a different situation. They have more of a social life and more, it impacts their day to day more. And ended up moving, which made a big difference for them. My youngest was 9, and my older kids are kind of too cool to try EFT with me, but they'll tell me though, they're like, Mom, you really need to tap. Like if they see that I'm getting anxious, they'll tell me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But my youngest son did. He did tap with me, and it helped him a lot because he went through some very challenging experiences through the divorce that caused a lot of anxiety in him. And so, that's the other thing that really sold me on EFT is seeing how much of a difference it made for him. He had a lot of sleep issues and a lot of anxiety around going to bed. And, he would let me tap with him at night and he would just melt. It would be like, he'd be all revved up and, like kids get, they have a hard time going to sleep, and he would just, he'd dredge off right in the middle of it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So when you teach somebody to tap, so let's say your son, so he's able to do it now without you, or do you have to guide him through it now?
I guide him. He's not, he could do it on his own. He just usually doesn't. He'll let me do it occasionally now. He's 13 now. So he's really too old for Mom at this point. But, but yeah, sometimes when he gets really anxious about something, he'll still let me tap with him. And I usually guide him through it. And I'll tell him too, like when he's away, when he's at his dad's or wherever he is, now that he's getting older, when you feel that stuff coming up, you can just go in your room and tap. And so he has it in his toolbox when he wants to use it.
And is it something that they can do at school too? Or is it something that they're because I have a 13-year-old as well. Mm-hmm. And so I can imagine because I'm obviously going to introduce him to this because it could totally help. But is it something that he could do at school? Because middle school is such a hard age where you do anything differently and you're a bullseye for a target, right?
They could, I guess. I think that one thing that I learned, this is something that I learned from my tapping teacher, and I'll just jump right into it, is that a discrete way to tap, I'll show you the other tapping sequence, like the traditional tapping sequence. But so if you just tap on the corners, like the corner of your nail bed, like this, and just kind of filter through your fingers, you can even do that under a desk or under a table. I saw a video where Harry Styles was tapping on his fingertips during a concert, and they were like, well, look, he's tapping, but he was just tapping through his corner of his nail bed like this, and it just kind of a calming thing for your nervous system. So that's a good thing that's
neat.
For more discreet tapping if they don't want to draw attention to themselves.
I gotta tap through the press on nails though, so I gotta do it heavier tap.
Oh, me too.
Okay. All right. So it can be done.
Oh yeah. It's just like on the side, kind of on the side of your nail.
Okay. I like it.
Well, that's all nails.
Listen, Stephanie, I am excited to learn this because having anxiety, and I think both my kids have anxiety. Like we come from a family of anxious people, and I will try anything. And what resonated was when you said kind of it brings you back a little bit, because sometimes when you're having a panic attack, you feel like you're levitating outside your body and you're thinking to yourself, why can't I stop this? My brain is saying stop it, but whatever else is happening just keeps with the panic attack. And I'm like, stop doing this. So does that bring you, like when that's happening and you're fighting in your brain, I would imagine this brings you back down to earth almost?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely it does. It's a very grounding practice, and it really brings you back into your body. Exactly like you said, that floaty, anxious feeling, that sort of disembodied feeling that you can get when you're anxious. It's helped me a lot with that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, teach us. Mandy, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Teach us.
I am. I'm ready.
I'm ready. You guys are easy. This is an easy interview. Well, do you guys want me to just maybe lead us through? You want me to lead you through a short practice so you can kind of get a feel for what it's like?
Absolutely.
We're ready.
Yeah, and this is what I do every week in my Facebook group. I do a short live tapping session every week, and then the replay is up so people can go through it on their own. So this is going to be similar to what I would do, what I do all the time, or what I would do with a client. Now, if I was working with a client, when I work with a client one-on-one, sometimes it's longer just because, we take some time to get to know each other and kind of talk things through. But what would you say is something that you, is there a specific thing that comes up a lot? Maybe pick something kind of neutral that you find brings a lot of anxiety, or something that's not deeply traumatic.
I'm going to let Joey pick out of her cookie jar on this one.
Okay.
What brings me anxiety? Okay. Let's say the news.
Oh, that's a great one.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's a great one. I'm going to jot a few notes just so that I can kind of look through it and remember what we've talked about. So the news, and what do you think specifically about the news brings anxiety?
All the bad news. So probably like mostly world events, because local news doesn't bring me a lot of anxiety, but world events and sometimes weather events. You see the devastation in weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what comes up for you when you hear those things? I mean, you feel anxiety, but what do you feel like might be underneath it? What story that you tell yourself, or the thoughts that pop up when you're
girl, do we want to get into this?
I can keep it super general.
I almost feel like, because I work on this in therapy too, I feel like it's going to happen right outside my window. All the stuff that I see in the world is now going to be in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even though it's nowhere near me, it feels so close to me.
Oh, this is great, because this is something people struggle with all the time. I mean, this is a conversation, I deal with it too, and this is a conversation that I have a lot with other people. So it's super common. I think this is a perfect topic. This is great.
Okay. That's one of many.
Oh, girl, I hear you. I think when you struggle with anxiety, that those things just pop up. It's like dandelions, it's just, there's something.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't happen to me, but I get the PTSD, and then I become the victims that I'm watching, and I immediately assume that I'm next.
Yeah.
So if there's a shooting, I immediately think next time I go to Target, it's 100% happening to me, and I'm watching every single person. Mandy, it's not easy being me.
No, I was
right, Mandy?
Say, well, no, I was listening to you because I'm like, do I have that? I have that with human trafficking.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's
Same thing.
Everything. That's the one that I get worried about the most. It's like, oh, be nice, be a good human being. Don't talk to that old lady who just dropped her credit card. She's going to steal you.
But that's all comes from the news and or social media, which is kind of the same thing where you're getting news from.
Do you guys feel like that hypervigilance is greater when you've been through a divorce and you kind of feel like it's all on you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure that's the trauma behind a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was feeling as if the drones were following me, and everything that was happening was going to happen to me, and I had to. So absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of responsibility. Like when you switched from, even if, I don't know what your situation is, but even if you have 50-50 or, shared custody of some sort, when you're on, you have to be 100% on, and it's all on you. And that can really ramp up the stress and anxiety. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm just going to ask you guys if you could give that anxiety a number right now on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you say it is?
For me, the human trafficking is like an 8 or a 9.
I live on a 9 or a 10.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
And can you discern where it is in your body?
Mine's my face.
Mine's my gut.
Oh, that's from a good one there too. Yeah. Mine's mostly like up through my face, heat all the time.
No, mine's the ability, I can't eat.
I wish I had that kind of.
If you have to have something, maybe that wouldn't be so bad.
Damn it. Why didn't I get that one?
Well, this is going to be super easy. So tapping is just like a game of sign and says. You do what I do and say what I say. So you don't have to come up with anything on your own. You might feel, as you move through it, you might feel a release of some sort. You might feel, sigh, or you might just feel kind of a settling in your body, and all that's super normal.
Okay.
And so we begin by tapping on the side of the hand. Can you see? There's a glare on my screen.
That's okay.
Okay.
You can see.
And if you would like to repeat after me, you're welcome to. You don't have to. Whatever you think is the best format for this. So if I was working with a client, or then I would typically have them repeat after me. And we begin by saying, even though I have all this anxiety.
Even though I have all
this anxiety. We can say it, Mandy.
Yeah,
we'll say it
fine.
together.
I'm gonna say it.
That's great. Go for it. I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
And even though I have all this anxiety in my body.
And even though I have all this
anxiety in my body. Filling in the church.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely
accept and love myself.
Or did I just make that up?
That's what you can't mess this up. There's no way to mess it up. So
Mandy, you talk. I'll stay.
Now she's going to have anxiety about this.
Oh, we don't want that. You're fine. All right, let's keep going. Even though the news brings me so much anxiety.
Joey, you need to say it too.
Even though the news brings me so much anxiety.
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
Right. Let's go to the top of the head. We're going to start at the top of the head, and we're going to move through these acupoints. So you just do what I do and say what I say. Okay. All of this anxiety. Eyebrow point, which is right here on the inside of the eyebrow. All this anxiety.
All this anxiety.
Side of the eye, right on the outside of your eyebrow. All this anxiety that I'm feeling in my body.
All this anxiety
that I'm feeling in my body.
Under the eye. It's really high.
It's really
high.
It's really high.
Under the nose, right here, like on your lip. Let's say I can feel it in my stomach.
I can feel it in my stomach.
Under the mouth, right here on your chin. I can feel it in my face.
I can feel it in my face.
And now we do a collarbone point right here under the point of your collarbone. This anxiety is driving me crazy.
This anxiety is driving me crazy.
We can identify with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I get so anxious about world events.
I get so anxious about world events.
I didn't tell you, it's under the arms.
Okay, like by my bra type of area.
Yeah, like right under your bra strap.
Okay.
All right, and then we go to under the chest. And if any of these are too tender or not comfortable, just skip them. That you can't, like I said, you can't get it wrong. There were some that I didn't like at first. So,
okay.
And I feel like I'm next.
And I feel like I'm next.
Okay, now we tap our wrists together. All this anxiety.
All this anxiety.
Top of the head. I don't like the way this feels.
I don't like the way this feels.
Eyebrow point again. And I really would like to let this go.
And I really would like to let this go.
Okay, let's pause there. Good job. Good job.
That's crazy.
Take a breath and check in with yourself and see where do you think your number is now?
For me, it's lower.
Yeah, it's definitely lower. Because ironically enough, when we were talking about what we were going to do, my anxiety immediately started building up, just talking about what we were going to do.
Yeah.
So, but by the time we got down to like the chest and the bra strap thing, it started feeling like relief.
It works pretty fast. It really does pretty fast. And honestly, even if you just tap through the points without saying anything, like even if you don't know what to say, if you just tap through the points, that alone will be calming. And you don't have to believe it'll work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you have a session, like you said, you do the Facebook one, it's kind of like just a generalized guided session, but then when you do one-on-one session, so you're asking what the anxiety is, and that's what you're working into what you were just saying, because it's personalized every time. It's not like you're just like coming and tapping your face for no reason.
Well, and in my Facebook group, or when I'm doing something with a larger group, it's a little bit more, it's a lot more general. We call it global tapping, because you kind of have to do it to a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, it has to be a little bit more general. But yes, when I'm working with people one-on-one, we can get really specific and find out, ultimately, as we work through the process of tapping, find out what are the thoughts and the subconscious beliefs and the stories that are underneath this, because we all have them. You know, they come from our childhood or from other experiences that we've had throughout our lives. And we can probably go back for a lot of the anxieties that we struggle with. We can probably go back to a time when that kind of became real for us. And so we're able to kind of get in there and work with the subconscious to rewire those beliefs. And that's really the power of tapping.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, and it also felt too, like, not only just the touch, but it almost felt like we were acknowledging what it was that was, scaring us or giving us anxiety. And it seemed like some affirmations were thrown in there as well. So it's like a little bit of everything.
Well, yeah. And if we were to go, like if I was working with you as a one-on-one client, or even sometimes in my group work, we continue to sort of go through it. When you come down, when your number begins to come down and you start regulating a little bit, then you can begin introducing the language of possibility. And because your brain is ready for new ideas, when you're under a lot of anxiety and your brain is freaking out, we're a lot of times closed off to new ideas or other possibilities. Like, maybe somebody's not going to snatch my kid at Walmart, but it doesn't feel like that when you're in that really heightened state. And so that helps us to bring it down and begin to introduce new ideas and, new possibilities. And then the way I've been trained to do it is that as it progresses, we usually finish with affirmations to rewire those neural pathways with new thoughts. So,
wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Imagine when we first moved in, like, to your apartment, right? Like, remember those days? Like, I was scared. It was just me and my kids. I lived with a man for so long, and then it was just us. That was scary nights. Thinking
very scary nights.
Yeah. So this would be like good for that too.
And I was just thinking, how many people, because I'm sure you do work with women that go through divorce, how many people break down when you have them say, I love and accept myself? Because how often when you go through divorce, because I almost did. I was like, I can't remember the last time I told myself that.
Well, and honestly, and I probably should have checked with you guys before we started, because there are some people who cannot say it. Like, we have to kind of back it up and try something a little bit softer. Because yes, especially I think when you go through a divorce, depending on your situation, it can really knock your self-worth, depending on the situation was in your marriage or your whole life. And so sometimes we have to work up to that, because that can be a really hard thing for some people to say. And
so how do you, how do you work up to that? Because I can also see myself with my child working through this and not having him be able to say it. And
good question.
Because they carry a lot of guilt that they shouldn't carry.
Yes. We just choose. What I try to do with clients that have a difficult time with that is we choose a different phrase that still tells our brain that we're in a state of acceptance. We'll either just say, I accept myself, or one that I've used is, I choose to care for myself today. Something that's just a little bit, it's kind of a bold thing to say that you love yourself and you accept yourself. That's something that's really difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah. To me, it's very dramatic.
You're right.
I'm not a very dramatic person, but that seems so dramatic. But it's what people need to do. I mean, you should love and accept yourself, but to me, I'm just not a dramatic person. It's not something that I would say, but it's good to do something like this. So that's why it's good to have somebody guide you through these things, because you wouldn't wake up and do this necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a different tool and a different way of signaling safety to your brain and your nervous system, and putting those good thoughts in, rewiring your brain around these things that, because divorce is brutal. It really is. And it does a number on
really is.
Your life and your self-worth. And so it's for me, it's been a really powerful tool to work through those anxieties and struggles and, finding yourself after divorce. I feel like you have to completely, it's a whole new life. Finding who you are.
Yeah. So
Finding who you
it's
are.
not
Yep.
even just, and like you said, having to make those decisions, especially through a divorce, because you have to make decisions if you have children, you have to make decisions alone a lot of times. And then you just to make decisions through your divorce, because you have to advocate for yourself and you have to make decisions about your home and where your kids are going to be. And these are big decisions that you don't want to just walk away from.
Yes.
So yeah, you have to have a clear head. And who knew tapping on your face?
I know.
Right? I know.
Well, I mean, obviously people do know that. We just
yeah.
didn't know it, but
And I
Stephanie knew.
I told you the first time I heard about it, that is crazy. Like, that was my first thought. Like, that is crazy. I don't know how that would work, but it does.
Yeah, it's like
amazing.
magic. It really is. Well, I'm glad that you came here, Stephanie, because we've only been talking for a short period of time, and I just learned a ton, and I'm into it because I hate having anxiety.
Yes.
Who likes having anxiety?
And I think that it's a valuable tool because it is something that you can do consistently at home, and it's quick. It's not, or it can be quick. And I think that a lot of the tools sometimes that we're given, it's kind of if you've been in therapy and if you're familiar with EMDR therapy, it's kind of a cousin to that. But EMDR is something that you have to do, with someone who's trained and certified. And with EFT, you can do it at home by yourself. That's how I started. And so it's a tool that's quick and effective and easy. And, I am a huge fan of therapy, but sometimes we don't always have immediate access to that. We don't, whether it's lack of resources or, just time or going through a divorce, it can be difficult. So I'm also all having tools that we can do on our own at home.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, so let's just say I'm listening right now or watching right now and I'm going through a divorce or had just gone through a divorce and I'm sitting here thinking, I have all this anxiety. What could I do? What's the best thing that I could do right now? Should I reach out to somebody and find somebody, or should I just do what you just said and just hit those points right now and just try to calm down right now? What's the best thing someone can do?
I think it's always good if you can grab it in the moment. There's a lot on YouTube. Of course, I have free stuff. My tapping teacher has a lot of free stuff on YouTube. And so there are a lot of resources that, if you're not sure how to go through it or if you're not sure what to say, and feel free to reach out to me too, because I love talking to people about this, and I'm happy to chat with people. But I think, just go for it in the moment. You can't mess it up. There's nothing that you can do to mess it up, and it's a very gentle tool, so you're not going to cause any harm or damage. There's nothing you can do. A lot of times people do find that if they get super stuck in something, that it can be super helpful to work with a practitioner. I had been doing it on my own for quite a while, and I hit some things that I was in therapy for, and that wasn't really budging it. And I worked with an EFT practitioner, and that was something that really shifted it at a deep level for me. So sometimes working with a practitioner can be really helpful when you're stuck.
Yeah. So so your Facebook group, because that's a good point that you brought up, that, YouTube and your Facebook group. Where is your Facebook group? What's it under? What's the name of it?
My Facebook group is Stephanie Stevens EFT.
Okay.
And you just send a join request, and then I approve all of them. Unless they
We'll put that in the show notes. Yeah. They're trying to sell you a pair of sunglasses or something.
Right.
They always get those. Okay. And then you have videos on YouTube?
I do not. No, I don't have YouTube yet.
Oh, okay. Facebook is probably easy for people to find that group.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then all of my other stuff, I will link in my Facebook group or mention in my Facebook group. So yeah, that's a good place for people to get started. And when I was going through my divorce, I went through times where I had no resources for, to hire anybody. And so I relied a lot on those free groups and free, whatever people put out there that was free. So I love doing that in that group. And then, as my resources grew, then I was able to hire coaches and people that helped me a lot. But, I think for women going through a divorce, a lot of times something that you can grab quickly and use right away that you don't have to put even more money on is helpful.
Right. Yeah. That's the biggest thing is they're already strapped for money. And if they could just get over that hump just for that one thing in a free Facebook group. Why not just try it and just see?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
got to try at least.
Yep.
So, and then so usually I know we're saying on Facebook and on YouTube, but are there just tapping specialists that you just Google tapping in your area? Do you do your sessions online or are you in person?
I do them online. I have done in person, but my lifestyle, just doing it online is works better for my schedule and usually for the schedules of other people too. Yeah, I'm finding that especially for moms, it's nice to not have to find a place for your kids and, drive. So if you can just find a spot, that usually works best. So I can also work with people from all over, and that's helpful as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love online. I love human interaction, but I like my therapy sessions never went back to in person. I was like, hallelujah. I love telehealth. It's so much easier.
Yeah, it is
so much easier. No traffic.
Right.
So, and how long are your sessions usually with clients?
Sessions are usually anywhere from 40 to 90 minutes. And the reason for that is because we usually spend a little time at the beginning talking about what we want to work on. And then we can go through a number of the rounds like I did with you guys. There are actually 3 parts to a complete round. And so we can kind of go through those as many times as we need to. But sometimes it takes a little bit to work through that. So we'll tap for a little while and then we'll talk about what came up. One of the most interesting things to me about tapping is that as you begin to work with your subconscious in that way, a lot of times you're going to have thoughts or memories, or even, if your brain will give you, I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but sometimes your brain gives you a picture of something that helps you understand. And sometimes we just remember where things came from. Sometimes when you're working with if you're working with anxiety, sometimes you'll remember what originally triggered that anxiety, and then we can work with that. So it can take a little while. But yeah, so usually 40 to 90 minutes is never more.
Oh, wow.
Never more than that. Well, I can see where that's EMDR's cousin then, by getting to the root of the anxiety and working through it that way.
Wow.
It's so interesting to me.
It's so interesting. So you do basically what you did with us, where you kind of you start off with what's really bothering you right now, and then you work on that and then see what comes up from that. And then you just keep going from there. Is that, because otherwise, do people come in and they're like, I don't know I have no idea what's bothering me.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's valuable to have some time at the beginning to sort of get to know each other and develop some rapport, because I think sometimes people don't know, or you'll think it's one thing, and it turns out to be something else. Going through big experiences like divorce, you have a lot of grief sometimes, and there are all kinds of emotions under that. You've got anger, you've got confusion, you've got all of these other things that are underneath. And so, we usually work with the emotion that's the highest, and that can change depending on the day or even throughout the session.
Yeah, because sometimes anxiety is so bizarre, where you're just walking down the street and you just get hit in the face with a panic attack, and you're like, I didn't even say anything or do anything. Why did that just happen?
Yes.
So sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what you're afraid of.
But then you can you've got the tool.
Yeah, because now when I talk to my therapist, we've been together for so long that he almost kind of just knows what to talk about. So how's this going? How'd you feel about that type of thing? So yeah, it probably is good to build a rapport with one person. I love it.
I do too. And I love that now everybody has a place to go.
Yes.
And it's Stephanie to go to.
Well, I'm excited, and I appreciate you guys having me, because I
absolutely
love working with women after going through that big, transition myself. I love working with women, and I really get excited about helping women sort of in the rebuilding process afterwards. I think that sometimes we kind of get stuck in all the hard stuff, and there's so much good on the other side.
There is, and it's getting through it to see it, and this will definitely help you see that it's not always going to be this way.
Yeah. At the time, it doesn't feel like that, though. At the time, you're like, it's always going to be terrible. I just know it.
The divorce police are going to jump out of the sky.
It's going to be bad forever.
Right.
That's what you feel like. Tap on my head. and now I know I'm okay.
There you go.
That's my motto in life. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to send people to your Facebook. What about Instagram? You have Instagram?
Yep. I'm on Instagram. I'm not as active on Instagram, but that's also Stephanie Stevens EFT.
Okay. Okay.
And then I'm also on TikTok, and that is, my handle there is at stephanie.b.stevens.
Okay.
I should probably keep them so they're all the same, but anyway, that's how
whatever. You can't have everything. You know what I mean?
That's right. Election right.
Exactly. Yeah, because I always say we want people to slip into your DMs, like the kids say.
Yep.
I say it every time.
I love talking to. My favorite thing is when people reach out to me and getting to have those conversations. It's so much fun.
Yeah, because if they can reach out one way, then I mean, at least you can talk to somebody and start a conversation somewhere.
100%.
Yeah, and know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Yeah,
and you're not the first person to go through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the worst about anxiety and divorce. You feel very alone no matter what. And you know people are going through it, but it's still very lonely.
Yep.
Yeah, and scary. It's awful. Well, I am happy that you were here. I'm sure Mandy is too. And that was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's not like fun, but it was fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, hey, anytime you can bring some anxiety down, that may not fall into the category of fun, but it feels better, right?
Yeah. The aftermath
I find it fun.
You're a little lighter.
Yeah. Maybe I'll sleep tonight.
Good. I hope so.
Oh, I hope so too, Joey.
I'll let you guys know tomorrow.
Okay.
If I slept. So, Stephanie, hope we're going to put all this stuff in the show notes so our listeners can find you. And I feel like they should.
I feel like they should too, for sure.
The queen of anxiety. So
I would love that. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm just going to, Mandy, would you like to add anything before we close up?
No, just thank you for trusting us, Stephanie. I know it's really hard when a stranger reaches out and says, hey, I have this podcast. I don't know you. Can you be on it?
Hey, I listened to some of the episodes and I loved it. So I knew I was in good hands.
Oh, okay. Good.
Good. Yay. All right. Perfect. Okay. Well, I'll close us out. Thank you so much to our listeners, and make sure, Mandy, they have to listen. They're going to find Stephanie, but they still need to hit a button for us, right?
Yep.
Share us, like us, do something. Help us out. So we will see you next time on My Ex Appeal. Thank you.
Thanks to our listeners, sponsors, and our lawyers on My Ex Appeal and Everything Divorce Podcast.